Okay, so let's tear into this thing and see what we've exactly got here. So first thing we're going to do is open the box. And this is what you get in the box. So of course, first we have the phone, and this is a very nice looking phone. We'll get back to that in just a minute. In here, basically all we have is the little Dewey that takes out your SIM card. So we'll just leave that in place for now. This dongle, USB-C charging on one end, 3.5mm jack on the other side. This phone doesn't come with a headset jack, so if you want to use your headset, that's what you got to use the dongle for. Now we have the power cable. This is a very nice looking power cable. It's got a braided cloth, and of course it's USB-C on both sides, and much higher quality than the standard plastic ones that we're used to seeing. This is the power brick itself. Now this thing is a monster. It's rated at 27 watts and it has 3 amps of output. The typical phone that we're seeing nowadays is coming with a 400 to 500 milliamp power block. So this thing is supposed to give you up to 5 hours of charge in about 5 minutes of charge time. So let's just unwrap this. Now, going around the phone, what you're going to see is the volume up and the volume down button. And these are very clear buttons, and they have a nice clicky feel to them. This is the power button here. On the front of the phone, we basically have nothing other than the bezel-less screen. Now, it's got a little tiny bit of what they call a chin down here. And at the top, there's just a cutout for the camera. Other than that, the screen goes wall to wall. And on the back of the phone, we have the flash. We have a dual camera setup. We have these 2 magnetic pins, and we have the fingerprint sensor. Now what you don't see on this phone anywhere is any kind of branding or labeling. It's just a black box. Now this is Gorilla Glass 5 on the front. It's titanium on the side, which is far superior to the aluminum that we're getting on a lot of the other phones. And the back, although it looks like Gorilla Glass, is not. This is actually polished ceramic. So it's something that we've never seen in a phone before, and it should stand up very nicely, as ceramic is incredibly durable. These little pins here are for accessories. Now, currently there is a 360 degree camera that's available. It's $269, I believe, and there are other options coming, one of which is going to be some kind of a wireless charging port that connects to this. And there will be more things available, just like there was in the Moto Mods days, with snap-on accessories for the phone. Now, the unique thing about the 2 cameras, they've done this a little bit differently. First off, it's a totally flush-mounted camera system, so there's no ridges there at all. They are 13 megapixel cameras, but this one is a full color one, and this one is a monochrome. So they've done it a little bit differently than what Apple and Samsung are doing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to layer two pictures, into one, so that you get better low light performance. So it'll be interesting to see how that part works out. Okay, so let's see what happens when we turn this thing on. So like I say, there's no indications on this phone anywhere of any kind of branding. This is pure Android. It will be available down the road in black and white, but the one we have here is the black finish. Now I have a feeling that this back cover is going to be a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but we'll just have to wait and see. So one of the interesting things I'm going to point out here is this little cutout for the camera up here. There's nothing on the front of this phone except the camera, and they had to do this little cutout of the screen. Now it's not really an issue when you go to videos and you go into landscape mode. What happens is you end up with a black forehead here that kind of matches the black chin down here. So it actually looks quite nice. Now I'm just going to go ahead and set this thing up, and then we'll take a closer look at it. Now one of the things we're going to notice is that during the setup screen, you do get a choice to copy your data from another Android phone or the cloud. So this being a pure Android phone, it's going to bring your information over very nicely if you have any kind of an Android phone currently. So if we do that, it's going to ask us to get onto our Wi-Fi networks. Or you can use the cellular network. It all depends what you want to do. So just give me 1 sec while I put the password in. Okay, and now because this phone is brand new right out of the box, the very first thing it's going to do is check for updates. So this will take a minute or two. So this one says that it has a 109 megabyte update, and that's not unusual, and it's a very small one. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so the update is still progressing, but I thought I'd touch base with a couple other things while we're doing this. If you're in Canada, this phone is currently available only on the TELUS network. If you're in the US, it's available only on the Sprint network. Now, today is October 26, 2017. That is expected to change prior to the Christmas rush, and it will be available on probably all the major networks. When this thing launched, it had an outright purchase price of $1,050 Canadian, and if you were on a 2-year contract, it was $290. Recently, TELUS has dropped it on a promotion down to $0 with a 2-year contract. So it actually represents pretty good value if you are if you're looking to get into the Android side of things. I think you'll be very happy with this phone. It's got an excellent fit and finish to it. It looks very well made. And it appears to be very high quality. We're going to do a full road test on this thing, and we'll have another video out in a couple of weeks to let you know what our first impressions are. But in the meantime, my first impression is that this is a very nice device. So let's just pause the camera again, wait for this system update to finish, and then we'll come back. A couple other things I wanted to mention just while we're waiting for this. It's a 2560 by 1312 pixel screen. It's running a Snapdragon 835 processor. It has 4 gigs of RAM, so not quite as much as the 6 gigs that the new Samsung has, but 4 gigs is still very respectable. The other thing is it comes out of the box with 128 megs of storage. It does not support an SD card, but I suppose with 128 gigabytes of storage, that's probably enough for the average person. Of course, it runs Bluetooth 5.0. Couple of little sort of maybe disappointing things about this. It does not have a headset jack. It doesn't support an SD card, and it doesn't have IP68 waterproofing. So other than that, it seems to be pretty straightforward, and if you've had an Android phone before, you're going to have no trouble adapting to this one. The software update is finally finished. That took a little longer than I expected. It's about 10 to 15 minutes. So when you are setting up the phone, I highly recommend that you do the software upgrades, but just realize that it's going to take that much time, and don't do it when you're pushed for time. So now it's just kind of going through its reboot cycle, and then it should be up and running any second now. So now we'll just keep walking through the steps, and again, say it's back to this, so we can copy our data, or we can set it up as a new phone. And it's asking for the Gmail address. A Google address is the essential part of any Android phone. So take a minute to go ahead and put this in. So hang on one sec while I do that. So once you put in your Google address and the password, just hit enter, and it'll go get your account info. If you've done more than one backup in the past few days, it's going to give you a list. So what you want to do is you want to pick the most recent one, and it will restore all your apps as well. It does give you a choice to add a fingerprint. We're going to skip that part for now. And a few terms and conditions, so we'll just agree to those. Google Assistant, we're going to get into that in another video, so we'll just skip that for now. And now we're all set. Whenever you're doing setup on an Android phone, you can come back to anything that you skip later on, so it's not a big deal if you don't get around to doing it the first time. And there we have it. The phone is now set up. So as you can see, it's very much stock Android. Nothing really surprising. It's still doing some downloading up here in the top corner. So we're going to give this thing a full test over the next week or so, like I say. For right now, our first impressions are that this is a very nice phone. and we'll be back in a little while with a more in-depth review. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button as well. It helps us to keep the videos relevant, and please feel free to leave any comments that you have in the comment section below, and we will respond to those. Thanks again for watching.